Tell me what your life was like before you died.
Ended up in hospital with cardiac complications in 2010, and that was the beginning. Was diagnosed with a rare life-threatening autoimmune disease and a systemic autoimmune disease. So a systemic disease affects organs. Mine affected my heart and then my brain, and that was a 10-year period of pretty much in hospital, a lot of it trying and failing every treatment available at the time, and as new ones became available, trying those, but had like a stroke, heart attack, 8 episodes of meningitis and inflammation and heart failure, and eventually was started on weekly chemotherapy in hope that that would get me into remission. And I was close to a year into that when it started to fail, and I was in hospital with severe heart failure at that time, and I had meningitis and was awaiting approval for a new experimental drug we'd heard about that was available like over in the US and other, but wasn't available in Australia. And I was stabilised but still really sick, and I wanted to go home. I had young children at home, and I had spent so much of my time in hospital, and there was really nothing else we could do but wait and see if I could have access to this drug. And so I was allowed home. I must be pretty convincing. I don't know how I was allowed home, but I was. I don't know how I managed to talk my way up, but I got home and I was pretty much existing breath to breath. I couldn't care for myself. I was in my bed. When you have meningitis, the inflammation in the brain and the light, I couldn't handle light of even a TV or a phone or any sort of light. So I had some like really dark, big Hollywood style glasses on, and I had no hair because I had chemo, so I had a big scarf wrapped around my head, and I was in bed. And I've got one photo of that period, and I look at it and I just laugh every time because I had no idea what I looked like because you're too sick to care. But my kids would exist in my room with me and on my bed with me. They would come and crawl up on bed with me and spend time with me. On the day I woke up knowing that it was going to be my last day. You could say, why didn't I go back to hospital if I knew I was going to decline? But there really was nothing more we could do. And I wanted to be in my own home. I wanted to be in my own bed, and I wanted to be around my own family. I didn't want to be I lived in a small country town. I didn't want to be hundreds of kilometres away in a city hospital if that was my last day. I literally just drunk my whole everything in, listening to my children when they came home from school, just listening to them and lying on my bed and just lying there drinking it all in. And I remember that I felt happy to have them near me, but I was 10 years into a really long, hard fight, and I barely had the energy to breathe, let alone talk, let alone live. So they went off to bed, and I remember I told my husband, he came to bed, and I said, I'm not going to be here tomorrow. And he said, well, you've thought that before, which we had. I've had many, many times where it's been touch and go. And I said, and he said, oh, you're a fighter, you always fight. And I went, yeah, okay, I do. Like, I am a fighter. And he just said, I just said, if I deteriorate, you can take me, but I want to stay here. Because he said to me, well, if you really feel like that, we should go to the hospital. And I must be very convincing because I managed to talk him into a pact of, if I deteriorate, we'll go, but I would like to stay here. And he watched me. I remember him lying there watching me for a while and listening to me breathing, and he eventually went to sleep. And I was aware of, I don't know how to explain it. I was aware of my body shutting down, and the best way I've come to explain that is, as you would go around the house at night and shut the house down, lock the doors, turn off the lights, switch a light off, that room shut down, and you're just shutting it all down before you go to sleep at night. It was like my body, I was going around my body shutting it all down, or I was, but it was shutting down. To then I was really just aware of my energy, and by that I mean my essence. I was in a lot of pain with the meningitis, and the first thing probably I was aware of was the pain dissipated. It dissolved. The moments before I felt my essence leave my body and this may feel weird, sound weird. It left through my feet. A weird thing to say, but for me, that was how it happened. My essence left through my feet. And as with the first NDE, I was aware I was at ceiling height looking down at my body. But this time I knew I was looking at my body. And again, thinking, I don't look like that. Or that doesn't look like me. So I had that awareness. And I remember feeling a lot of compassion from that body that I had left. I wasn't distressed. As I said the first time, I wasn't distressed. I didn't feel attached. I was just that awareness, and I'm existing as me, and I'm looking down. I was aware of a anti-gravity, like a pull, an anti-gravity pull through the ceiling. The ceiling no longer existed, and there really was no sense of direction. If I really try and accurately describe it, I have to say I went up, because in our human minds, that's up. In our spatial understanding of Earth, I travelled up, and then I was aware of that pulling into a space where there was, in the distance, I saw it, but I also felt it. I also became part of it, this most magnificent, bright, white light. It wasn't like light here, it was alive, and it was dynamic, and it was pure love. I have to say it's light, but it was the most beautiful love I've ever experienced. It's like love here, but to the power of a billion. Like it was love. And I knew as I got closer that it was unconditional, non-judgmental love that I knew was the source of everything. So I knew, just as I'd woken up with a knowing, I'm not going to be here tomorrow, I knew it was the source of all. I knew it was where I came from. I knew it was where I returned to. It felt like I was coming home. It felt like when you go on a really nice holiday and you have a lot of fun, and it's really, really great fun, and you come home and you go, oh, it's so good to be home. And you've got your own bed and your own favourite mug and your own cup of tea, and it just feels so good to be home, even though you've just had a really good holiday. It just felt familiar, and I was happy to be home. I knew it was the foundation of everything. I knew it created me. I feel that it's what we all reference, but we use different words depending on our beliefs. We all have a different label for what this light is. It was love, and it was the source of all, and it was the foundation. Like love is the foundation of all consciousness. So while in this space of this love dimension, I now refer to it as I went to the love dimension, I became aware of the presence of 3 beings, and they were also familiar, like meeting someone I'd met in preschool, or you haven't seen them for a very long time and you're now in your 50s. They're familiar, you know them, and that remembering as you spend more time with them, you sort of remember them more and more. I knew them and they knew me, everything about me. I'm existing as consciousness and able to have a conscious thought. Everything I thought was telepathically communicated, and the beings communicated they were my guides. One of them had more prominence energetically, and I knew that to be my master guide, who had been with me forever and ever in every incarnation. They communicated with me, and I was to review what my life was. And it's like watching a movie where you're the lead actor, but you're not just watching. So I wasn't just watching my life, I was observing, but I was experiencing it from multiple perspectives. And then I was also reviewing it with my guide. So all of those things all at the same time, participating, experiencing it at the other, and reviewing the intent I had in that moment, and experiencing what the ripple effect that had on another. And if I had really positive effect, or I experienced that, how the other experienced it. But if I had affected someone negatively and caused suffering or pain, and also the ripple effect that had going out into their reality, and like lots of the continuum of that effect. My awareness was being directed to where my guides would have it. So the scene that we would be looking at examining, or not examining, but reviewing. And what you put your awareness on expands in consciousness. So that sort of like if you zoom in with a camera, like if you're a cameraman and you can zoom in to one thing even though everything else exists around it, your awareness is like that. It's like the camera zooming in on one focal point. And that's, I think the life review really highlighted awareness in that regards, and also intent. I now understand intent, how important intent is, and how the big role that it plays in the co-creation process of the reality you're going to walk into, anyone will walk into. Your intent is a really powerful tool in that co-creation process with consciousness. A life review is what you do, and your intent in each moment matters. And I think the concept of heaven and hell, think about if you're reviewing your life and you have predominantly done, thought, said, acted in a way that brought happiness and joy and all the positive good stuff to others, that's what you're going to experience in your life review. That will be the experience over and over again of each scene. That might feel like heaven, or might be a heaven experience. If on the other hand you've predominantly caused pain and suffering, and that is your experience through every scene as what you've experiencing it as the other, that may feel like hell. I think that my understanding of heaven and hell is how you're living your life now becomes your heaven or hell, because you're going to experience it as what you've done here, what you've lived your life as. I remember watching, when I was a little girl, watching the Scottish Moors and the fog rolling over the Scottish Moors, like coming toward, like rolling towards me. And it's sort of like, make that in reverse, and it rolling the other way and expanding infinitely. That's sort of the only way I can explain infinite expansion of consciousness as you're watching it unfold in front of you. Then after that, his presence or dominance seemed to recede again, and my guides came more into dominance, and I was told that I was going to have a healing. I was going to go to a healing space. It was a dome-shaped building room, and it had an arched doorway, and my guides directed me through it and communicated for me to lie down. And as I was saying at the beginning, I had form, like not a human body, but I had the sense of form. Master guide was at my head, and my other guides were at the sides of my arms, and there were 3 other healing beings in that space. That's what I was communicated, that they were healing beings, and they were at my feet and around my legs. The healing was for my soul, for what it had been through in my human incarnation, and it was really beautiful, vibrational, like hum. It was a vibrational feeling and sound that traveled through me, and it traveled through like a warm liquid gold, just passing, and it felt magnificent. It was so beautiful. It's like, I don't know, having a really beautiful massage or something, and you never want it to end. Like, it's just beautiful. It was just healing. So as I was at the end, it was like I was, when I was falling back into my body, it was like I was plugged into consciousness. Like you get a power plug and put it in the wall socket. It was like that, and just downloading everything I'd been curious, like everything that I had been thinking about or curious about was like downloading past lives. And I know I was curious about time and space and energy and how does all this work? And because I don't think about the little things, right? Think about a big concept. And I was shown, so think about maths. I don't know if when you're at school you have grid paper for maths when you're learning maths, and imprint a grid like on consciousness, and it's fluid and dynamic, and that grid is moving. That grid are unified fields of time and space and energy, all imprinted on consciousness. Live it as who you are. On it, like, be you, but don't live it how other people think you should live it. Find what lights you up and do that, and just live it big and grab it and live it all. And it's amazing. All of it, it's amazing. Life is so much fun. And instead of putting our awareness on the negative, look at all, like everything. There's so much to be grateful for. I just live it as you, be you. and you like live where you are, be where you are, and don't be so serious about it all. And don't take yourself so seriously. Get over yourself. Like literally get over yourself.